Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Welcome to EDDIE-FICATIon, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Need a personal integrity booster shot? Your prescription is right here. Tune in with Eddie Frederick every week. Information is power.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
You're listening to Eddie Frederick, where good values make great radio.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
What a plum pleasing pleasure it is for us to be joined again through this inspiring and motivating, podcast, you want to call it, vlogcast, whatever it is. But thank you for joining again. So, welcome to the 269th edition of Edification as we usher in the beginning of the 2025 hurricane season, and of course, the 6th month of this year, the halfway mark. We have to remember to take precautions, and if ever there is a time for us to mind our own business, trust me, folks, it is now. Having had the recent experience of 3 hurricanes to our shores, Ivan, Emily, and of course Beryl, we really need to step down on our enthusiasm to follow the trail of our ignorance, and of course take a little stock of our very lives. After all, hurricanes shake up lives. We live in a world today where there is too much. What should I say, boy? Too much? Is it too much? Well, what I really want to say would be a little too strong. But we really do not have much help available anymore. Good? This makes it necessary for all of us to take the necessary precautions. Folks, this is not anything to take lightly. In order to do so, we need to mind our own business. All the bickering and bantering and rumor mongering will not prepare us to withstand the rigors of a hurricane, far less to survive its aftermath. The operative words here are mind your own business. Don't say I didn't tell you. As soon as you come into the room today, please remember to share, comment, like, love, just interact as you usually do. Our angel number for today's discourse is 269. This number suggests a strong alignment with your life's purpose and, of course, a message of support from your spiritual guides. It indicates that you are fully supported and that your material needs are met as you dedicate yourselves to your higher calling. The number 269 encourages you to embrace new beginnings and trust in the universe's support. Today's topic, of course, comes about as a result of the recently observed alarmingly high rate of ignorance, which can only be described as basic stupidity in, of course, an era where information and knowledge are at the fingertips of all, yet many refuse to connect. We have a lot of our nation's young people going out there looking for jobs, and as soon as they are able to amass enough money to buy a modern cell phone, they leave the job, or they start not performing well, or they start not coming to work, not showing up, because they don't care. Folks, we have to have more substance than that. So this particular subject, when a nation shows off its ignorance, it can't end well for the people. Goodly folks, research gives me the strength and the power to talk as pointedly clear as I usually do, regardless of the reactions of anyone. I acknowledge and submit a long time ago to the realization that when God gives one a gift, he expects that person to share willingly and effortlessly. That opens the floodgates of blessings. Yes, true and genuine, well-sustained blessings which money cannot buy. And so I firmly believe that my gift is to do what I do here and by way of my profession as a people developer who maintains very high standards and quality through firmness as a constant. I am putting it to you here today that a nation flaunting its ignorance as a large swath of our Grenadian people do unabashed, is like a bunch of drunks waving lit matches in a powder keg. Sooner or later, everything will blow. Just look at the situation regarding a proper and decent national leader duly elected in a fair contest, in spite of all the attempts at gerrymandering and voter padding, not to mention the dunsification and pauperization of a large swath of our population by the evil one for such a long and extended period, totaling 23 years. You see, these followers and supporters have normalized dunceness, so much so they are out and about with no shame whatsoever, proving how indigent they are in the department of sense. Imagine the rookie politician who pivoted, from his successful career as a corporate lawyer, put a sound licking on the veteran conman who ran out of tricks to the point where his election campaign, the message was reduced to cake and ice cream, give me the thing, is mine, where did he day, and the whole 9 yards of gibberish that we were all privy to in the 6 weeks leading up to June 23rd, 2022 polls. No wonder, no wonder, no wonder. You see, the substance of their utterances has not changed one bit, except to descend to the pits of hell, having taken the leap of faith, of course, from the lolly gutter. Just take a look at all their mouthpieces and even their pens through their several gutter sniping past off as lives, not to mention the fake accounts on social media who are actually mimicking their rightful owners in true form to the point where they cannot hide anymore. Folks, it's really abominable. How they write is how they talk, and others who can't keep quiet either repeat what they are going to write and post, or know them verbatim and talk constantly about them with glee. Apart from that, they have friends or people that they hang out with, whom they confide in, who talk to people that they are close with, who spill the beans. You see, they are also exposed that it isn't funny. One reached as far as to say they got someone in the Far East to set up a couple of accounts for them that they paid for, while a couple others said they operate by different SIM numbers, whatever that may mean. Folks, you see, they talk too much. You see, our society has become so fake that the truth actually bothers people to the core. The less talent the fakes have is the more pride, vanity, and arrogance they display. All these fools are said to find other fools who actually applaud them. Folks, I have already told you that your social media deeds should inspire, educate, and challenge you. If they don't, you're in trouble. If they fail to do so, trust me, be careful, be very careful. They do not absorb you and turn you into them. You see, sometimes the best thing you can do is to keep your mouth shut and your eyes wide open. The truth always comes out in the end. In Grenada today, no matter how big a hammer you use, you just can't pound common sense into many of the stupid people. Some of us may do well to understand and appreciate that there is no need for revenge against the gutter snipes of our society today, who belong to the organization that is responsible for their total ignorance, pauperization, and beggy culture, because they are already enough punishment unto themselves. After all, eagles do not take flight lessons from chickens. After passing through the extended period of dimness for this nation, 1995 to 2022 for the most part, we ought to realize that its aftermath won't be easy. Too long a period for too much nonsense to have been almost normalized. You see, the people with the greatest purpose, who have the guts and the gumption to stay on mission, will always be fired upon with the heaviest of artillery. Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell and his team need to understand that if a lot is coming at them right now, remember God appointed you and promised to deliver his protection and security on you during this fight. The message here is stay the course. If you were not doing something to make a difference, you would not attract detractors and attackers. At times, we are tempted to feel the good people are outnumbered among us. My clarion call to you is, don't be afraid of being outnumbered. Eagles fly alone, while pigeons flock together. One man with courage is always a majority. Never mind how devastating the plethora of negativity around us may feel. Your elevation is all part of the sacrifice you are making. The many who refuse to make sacrifice will remain grounded while beating up, fretting, and becoming the perpetual annoyance to the rest of us. You see, history's graveyard is full of empires that got high on their own arrogance, that traded books for banners, wisdom for slogans. They mocked the thinkers, silenced the curious, and of course they crowned fools as prophets. And how did it end for them? In collapse, of course, in war, in generations left picking through the wreckage of preventable ruin. Ignorance in power doesn't just fail, it betrays. It lets the rich people rob the poor people and calls it tradition. It sends the young to die for old men's lies and calls it patriotism. It poisons the well, then blames the thirsty for drinking. Isaac Asimov, a poet par excellence, he once wrote, "When stupidity is considered patriotism, it's unsafe to be intelligent." You see, here's the thorn in its side. People wake up, and most of them did on June 23rd, 2022. The truth might be buried, but it doesn't rot. Sooner or later, the bill comes due, and when it does, the ones who fed on ignorance, they starve first. So when you see a nation proud of its own stupidity, brace yourself. The fall ain't gonna be pretty. But the rise after, oh man, that's where the real story begins. And folks, trust me, we are living through the beginning of that real story now. For the greatness in every Grenadian to resonate, we have to remove ourselves from the quadrant of ignorance. Then and only then would Grenada become the great place it is indeed. So when a nation exhibits ignorance, as a rule, things can't end well for them. Let's take a little break now, and we'll come right back with a lot more. I think you see where this is headed.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during EDDIE-FICATION are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
Hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety hurricanes, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Okay, folks, and wonderful. For those of you who are just joining us, I want to welcome you. And of course, if at all while you joined, you've seen some people missing, you know what to do. Hit that share button, tag them, get them in the room, because we have a loaded and very epic program today. The subject matter is just something to die for. Good. And it basically speaks: when a nation exhibits ignorance as a rule, things can't end well for them. So welcome back, folks. Folks, the real story begins with the rise after the fall of such a nation. Remember, we are that such nation that our carelessness allowed to fall after the crash of the revolution of 1983. A race towards the bottom that was intensified between 1995 and 2022 for the most part. Just how can we as a nation rebuild from the ashes? You see, history's graveyard is littered with many examples of fallen empires that we can learn from. Babylon, Rome, the Soviet Union, and more recently, before our very eyes, hello, it's happening all now, the United States of America. Folks, the fall must come. The fall is here. But guess what? It's how you rise thereafter. You see, their collapses were never the end of their story. The real drama begins in the rubble, where the seeds of rubbish can be sown, or the seeds of positive growth can be sown. You're choosing. Which ones should you choose if you were in their position? Well, of course, they chose good seeds. They chose positivity. I don't know which seed the Americans are going to choose, because their fall is still happening. Here's how nations rise again after catastrophic decline. You see, crisis as a catalyst for reinvention. When a nation hits rock bottom, the shock often shatters old illusions and forces a reckoning. The Soviet Union's collapse in 1991, for instance, birthed 15 new states, some of which, like Estonia, embraced radical reforms, shedding centralized planning for free markets and digital innovation. Similarly, post-World War II Germany and Japan transformed from militaristic regimes into economic powerhouses by adopting democratic institutions and export-driven growth. In our own case here, though micro, we are seeing old geezers fighting for relevance. They move away from the ideals they once claimed to have championed. And out of abject jealousy and envy for the person who never before showed an interest in political leadership like all of them, came from nowhere and eclipsed them all. You see the return to foundational values? Don't play with that. Nations that rise again often rediscover or redefine their core principles. After the Battle of Marathon 490 BC, Athens, in Greece of course, doubled down on democracy, proving that a small, values-driven society could outlast despotic empires. You see, likewise, post-apartheid South Africa rebuilt on ideals of reconciliation, turning systemic oppression into multicultural rainbow experiment in governance. It's no surprise then that after our very own local dismal period of nefarious leadership, where tiffin was the order of the day and lawlessness normalized, there will be some form of resistance to any effort to retrofit the society with structure, law, and order. Economic and moral realignment, very necessary. Collapse exposes extractive systems like the corruption of Babylon or Rome's bread and circuses welfare, and creates space for inclusive models. The Marshall Plan revived war-torn Europe by tying aid to the institutional reforms, proving that investment in people, not just infrastructure, fuels rebirth. Conversely, nations that fail to address moral decay, example, post-revolutionary France's terror, spiral into further chaos. You see, we here in Grenada are no exception to this. The decadence that was normalized by Satan's grandson over the extended period has got to be attended to, regardless of the reaction of the underclass who grew to love it and sold their souls for a mess of pottage to the evil one for all of the period 1995 to 2022 for the most part. The role of leadership and collective will. You see, rebirth requires leaders who channel collective trauma into purpose. Post-genocide Rwanda, for example, leveraged strict governance and social cohesion to become Africa's tech hub. Contrast this with Libya, where the absence of unified leadership after Gaddafi led to fragmentation. As historian Niall Ferguson notes, collapse is sudden, but so is revival if the right levers are pulled. Folks, we here in Grenada have to galvanize our current capable government to pull the right levers. And who are in the way must be removed, as we have a nation to repair for the takeoff that beckons. We who stand in the gap need to expose all saboteurs and obstructionists. Give them the same medicine that the evil one used to dish out to bring the nation to its mangled state, so they can feel what it is like to resist. Only this time, going in the right direction. Trust me, their grip to survive while resisting cannot be sustained. You see, innovation from the margins. When central power fails, local resilience often thrives. The decline of nation states today is spawning decentralized solutions, city networks, digital communities, and grassroots movements filling governance gaps. Silicon Valley's rise from 1970s economic stagnation shows how bottom-up innovation can redefine a nation's trajectory. Just look at Silicon Valley, the single richest part of the world indeed. The paradox of collapse. The fall of a nation isn't an endpoint. It's a brutal reset. Those that rise again combine humility, learning from failure, with audacity, rewriting the rules. As the Bible's cycles of judgment and redemption show, the difference between eternal ruin and rebirth lies in one question. Will the survivors choose wisdom over arrogance? The next chapter of history is always written by those who answer wisely. Folks, let's answer this question. What is true riches? That is something I have thought about a lot, coming from where I did. When you grow up with little folks, you learn real quick that money ain't the same as wealth. Hello? When you grow up with little, you learn real quick that money isn't the same as wealth. I want to put that in the comment section here for the simple reason that you must have it as reference, because the truth is, this is powerful. When you grow up with little, you learn real quick that money ain't the same as wealth. You see, true riches, it's waking up and feeling peace in your chest, not owing your soul to greed or grudges. It's having people who know your flaws and love you anyway, family, friends, the kind of bonds that don't come with price tags. It's finding joy in small things, a shared meal, an honest day's work, the freedom to laugh without pretending. I've seen folks with full pockets and empty hearts. I have known folks with nothing but a roof that don't leak and a table with enough to share who felt like kings. True riches ain't about what you own. It's about what owns you. If you're ruled by gratitude instead of want, by love instead of fear, man, that's a life that is truly rich. Everything else is just shiny dust. If only our people could develop an appreciation for this, they would actually remove themselves from ignorance to a state of clarity, and so much more in a positive quadrant of life will be added. You see, Bob Marley once said, I repeat this very often, some people are so poor that all they have is money. I may not be rich materially, but trust me, folks, I am not poor. As that's the truth worth holding on to. You see, when folks measure poverty and wealth only by what's in their pockets, they miss the whole picture. Saying, I may not be rich, but I'm not poor either. That's the sweet spot of a contented mind. It means you've got enough to keep the wolves from the door. But more importantly, you ain't chained to the hunger for more. You know the value of what you have. Maybe your health, your peace, people who'd sit with you in a storm. That's a kind of wealth that doesn't flash or fade. The world will try to tell you, folks, poor is lacking money and rich is having excess. But real living happens in the middle, where you ain't drowning in need, but you ain't sold your soul for surplus either. You're free to enjoy a full moon without checking your bank account, free to share your last slice of bread without counting the cost. That's not poor, that's rich in the only ways that ever mattered. Does peace play a role in true riches, folks? Oh, absolutely. Peace ain't just part of true riches. It's the very foundation. You can stack money to the sky, but if your mind's a battlefield, hello, you're still a beggar in your soul. What makes a person rich? Let me tell you what I have learned. Peace is the currency of the heart. If you can lay your head down at night without ghosts of regret or greed whispering in your ears, you're wealthier than kings. No amount of gold buys a quiet mind. You see, a guilty conscience always fears the midnight knocking. So the body that houses that guilty conscience could never be at peace. Freedom from want. Not because you have everything, but because you're not ruled by cravings. A person who eats simple bread with gratitude is fuller than the one who feasts with envy in their throat. Love that don't come with receipts. You see, family, friends, the kind of bonds that hold you up when the world tries to shake you, that's a fortune no bank can hold. A soul that's its own master. You see, rich folks bow to bankers, poor folks bow to landlords. But the truly rich, they bow to nothing but their own conscience and the sky above them. Isn't that powerful, folks? You see, peace is the soil where all this grows. Without it, even palaces feel like prisons. With it, a humble porch under the stars feels like a throne. So yeah, you ask me, peace don't just play a role in true riches. It is the treasure. The rest is just the noise the world mistakes for music. For the greatness, folks, in every Grenadian to resonate, we have to remove ourselves from the quadrant of ignorance. Then and only then would Grenada become the great place it is indeed. When a nation exhibits ignorance as a rule, things can't end well for them. Trust me. Let's take a little break and we come back with the third segment.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
You know, welcome back, folks. You know, it's so interesting that when a nation exhibits ignorance as a rule, things can't end well for them. And wrapped up in that, you can actually find justification in the comment I made. And we had a program on that particular subject, that democracy presupposes its participants are intelligent. You see how much, in truth and in fact, the Grenadian society has deteriorated so far, so low, that how democracy really and truly is not something many of us should be participating in? Sad. Because we become transactional. We become, protesters for what we feel is our rights. When in truth and in fact, freedom comes with responsibility, and responsibilities rather, to the point where only intelligent people will appreciate and understand that. Hello? You get a message? We really in a bad way. We have to do some serious, reflection, inflection. And you know what is interesting? With all of that, always remember church. The word church is spelled C-H-U-R-C-H. Take you out of the word church and you realize there's no church. So what does that mean? A lot of us still have this thing in our minds that the church is the building. Hello, a church could be under a tree. A church could be in a yard, because there could be no church without you, without me. So we are the people. And the people must galvanize the church leaders into some form of action. Too many of them are missing in action. The society keeps going to hell in a handbasket. A matter of fact, I believe it's there already. And where are the church leaders? They're going along. Because you see, church has become a profitable business for a lot of them, abrogating their true spiritual responsibilities to be the moral guardians of their flock. Some of them hide behind this stupidness about you don't mix politics with religion. Nonsense. It's the same people that are in your religion that are the same people that are in politics. Balderdash to that nonsense. You don't have to get involved in politics, but you have to be the moral guardian regardless. Stand for something and stop continuing to fall for every old thing that passing just because you want your tithes and you want your prosperity and you want your all this stupidness. Folks, there's no telling how much damage a little reading can do to one's ignorance. I hear that loud and clear. Ignorance ain't just a lack of knowing. It is a stubborn darkness that too many folks among us wrap around themselves like a blanket. But you're right. A little reading, a single spark of truth can burn holes clean through that level of darkness. A man who prefers to remain alone is not necessarily lonely. Hell no. Remember, he chooses to be alone. And you cannot be alone if you enjoy the company of the person you are alone with. That's a conscious choice. Society brings pressure to bear on such man by calling him antisocial. But this man's high level of consciousness might simply be his refusal to participate in collective stupidity. You like that? A man who chooses to be alone prefers to be alone because he refuses to participate in collective stupidity. That's epic, folks. The brightest minds are, these people often walk alone because few can keep a pace. So according to Nikola Tesla, antisocial behavior is a trait of intelligence in a world full of conformists. Think about it. Ignorance thrives on silence or unchallenged lies, on the lazy comfort of that's just how it is. But crack open a book, stumble onto the right words, and suddenly the world ain't flat anymore. The chains ain't locked. The way things are ain't the way they got to be. You see, that's why the powerful hate a curious mind. Because once ignorance starts crumbling, their whole rotten tower shakes. Would it be nice if the rotten tower left by the old nastiness could shake to its core, all because ignorance crumbles? Well, we're working on it. The damage reading does? Oh, it's beautiful destruction. It turns I never knew into I'll never unsee. It turns quiet acceptance into righteous indignation and anger. It turns a man who bowed his head into one who stands up and says, no more. So keep handing folks the matches of knowledge. Even a little light makes ignorance sweat. And once enough minds catch fire, why? That's how revolutions start. Is there a match between confidence and ignorance, though? Is there a match? Oh, how there's a dangerous dance. That is a dangerous dance indeed. Confidence and ignorance, arm in arm, grinning like they own the place. And too often they do, because the negligence of the enlightened caused them to think they own the goddamn place. You see, confidence without knowledge is just a loud echo in an empty room. It sounds powerful, but it's hollow. You ever met a man who swore he knew everything? That's not confidence. That's armor made of arrogance, and it cracks the moment truth taps on it. But here's the twist. Real confidence, it comes from knowing what you don't know. It's standing firm in your truth while leaving the door open for wisdom. It is saying, I might be wrong, without crumbling, because learning isn't defeat, it's growth. Ignorance, though, it loves fake confidence. It's the blowhard at the bar, the tyrant on the throne, the fool who mistakes volume for virtue. You see, the more someone fears being exposed, the louder they will bellow. So is there a match? Of course. And the way fire matches straw. Burns bright, then leaves nothing but ash in a jiffy. True confidence walks quieter because it doesn't need to scream to prove it's strong. You want real power? Pair humility with courage. That's the unshakable kind. You see, true confidence walks quieter because it doesn't need to scream to prove that it is strong. True confidence is like a deep root. It doesn't sway because it doesn't need to. It's the calm in a man's voice when he says, I don't know, but I'll find out. It's the steady hand of the craftsman who doesn't boast, just works. It's the quiet pride of someone who's been tested and knows their own worth without carving it into the world's forehead. In other words, have to inscribe it somewhere for you. No. Confidence is quiet. The loudest ones, they're often just hanging signs on a hollow door. But the ones who know, really know, they move like rivers, strong, sure, and without apology. No theatrics, no chest thumping, just the unshakable understanding that real strength doesn't need an audience. So, yeah, let the ignorant shout. The wise listen, learn, and speak only when it matters. That's how you spot the difference. The several ignorant among us are so confident that they make the wise hold their counsel and at times give way to them too. But this has proved to be dangerous as it encourages their numbers to swell. This is how their nonsense is normalized in society, and we pay dearly for it. Just take a serious look at the bravery with which incapacitated elements of our society run amok with social media lives that people we least expect to tune in actually tune in, and they even share. Lord have mercy. Nothing is wrong with the originator in as much as all is wrong with those who tune in and share. It says all you should want to know about the level of the person tuning in and sharing. But folks, it is instructive to note Mandela's words: fools multiply when wise men are silent. Folks, the way people treat you is a reflection of how they see you. The way you let people treat you is a reflection of how you see yourself. If you let people walk all over you, it's not about them, it's about you, your stupidity. Your boundaries show the world how much you value yourself. If you don't demand respect, you will get whatever treatment they decide to give you. But you allow it. You see, the truth is, no one's opinion of you matters more than your opinion about yourself. You see, when you see your own worth, the worth that God and the universe places on you, you will stop tolerating anything else. Raise your standard and the world will adjust. After that, the guilt you feel for setting boundaries, folks, you'd be surprised to know it is a sign of how deeply you were tainted or trained rather to abandon yourself. People learn from what I share, and I know this for a fact, as there is several feedback that I receive to the effect, to the point of being able to quote me verbatim. I always say it is not our job to be concerned too much about numbers to be encouraged. Oh no. Whenever we see an illustration regarding a journey to heaven or hell, respectively, we see the journey to hell laden with people, while the one that leads to heaven is somewhat scant. So I therefore would proceed to speak with whoever would listen, if even it is just one. At least I know I'm not speaking to myself. I put myself out to speak with sense and from a strong position of research. Consistency, folks, is the operative word here. I am sure that I am not speaking to myself at all. Remember, I tell you there's some people who hide to listen to me, So that's live right now. Oh man, if they come on, you will see them. So you know what they do? They're waiting for it to dawn. So you have no opportunity to see them. There was something I wanted to share here, but my better judgment is telling me, leave that for another time. So I shall pass up on that now. And I'm sure the person who sent it is listening, but that's quite okay. It's a good piece for augmentation another time, when the topic area is a little bit more apropos for that. You see, could you imagine, folks, if we continue to remain asleep and just allow any Tom, Dick, Harry, Mary, or Jane to get into politics, to run our national affairs? Folks, we have to stop that. Look at how the opposition elements are behaving. And even the youthful caretakers seem to be in training under the same playbook. A playbook that could do nothing good for them. When in truth and in fact, with our population being 62% under 35, you know what that means? You know what that means, folks? That means that most of the people in Grenada are called upon to be agents of change, not followers of old gyptics, failures, incapacitated elements, irrelevant people who have spent too much time. This should be a new chapter for us as a people, folks. We're going forward. But look at what is happening in the world today. The geopolitical affairs are not nice. And yet for all, we are faced with, what do you call the thing? Climate change. Which in another 10, 15, 20 years, the Carnage will have to be encased with a wall. A lot of places will have to be moved from as close as they are. Where are we finding the money to do that? You think Mawet does make money? Bacchanal, Tebe, small talk, gutter sniping, that. No, we have to focus. And then we're still in the hurricane belt. We're still in the hurricane belt. But instead of us educating the people, leading the people to a level of education where they could become aware and stimulate some sort of, thinking in them to prepare for what's coming that you cannot stop. You have this inferior lot outside there under fake names, fake profiles. When you look at the people they have doing lives, Lord, you have to sign yourself. You have to literally ask God to exorcise Grenada from these evil ones. Folks, look at what is happening in America. America have their own problems. If you follow carefully, you'd realize that it was already predestined to happen. President Trump has come to seal the deal, to make sure it happens. If you read The History of Civilization by Alvin and Heidi Toffler, you would realize that Bronze Man had their time already. Who's Bronze Man? Us, we Africans. They had their time already. The cradle of civilization is where? Africa, continental Africa. Bronze Man had his time already. White man, and it goes in 2,000-year cycles. White man, his time is finished. Look, it's 2025 and they're resisting. But this time right now is yellow man time. Who's yellow man? According to Heidi and Alvin Toffler. The Orientals, folks. The Orientals. I was reading something recently where while America playing big police all over the world, China was playing quiet, very polite, and building their dowry, building their economy. China owns over 5,000 ships, in terms of shipping, for commerce, for economics. America only under what? Under 100. Bro, what does that say? The boom has shifted already. And America ain't going down so. But they have to go because every move that is made now is a move to the ground. And if you think repairing that is going to cost, is going to be cheap, joke you're making, well, that's where they will bust self. Look what is happening. Countries are moving away and trading in other currencies. Oh, the economic might of America is about to be maimed. So when we are still here programmed to think that everything is normal and we should always continue to look north, look north, look north, that's why we need visionary leadership in this country. Not acrimonious leadership and gyptic leadership. We need visionary leadership to go where the action is. You could imagine if Africa becomes as free as they've started to free themselves, and they start capitalizing on their own natural resources. That is why it's important for us to be friends with them, because we are their diaspora. It's not the other way around. We are their diaspora. And they will always remember who was friendly with them. Look at China. China is a place of gratitude. They always remember their people. Yes, they have the agenda, but that's why you need a strong leader who must also have an agenda. So that when you come to the table to meet, the two agendas meet. Rather than a gyptic looking for favors, an old irrelevant gyptic looking for favors, or a numbskull looking for favors. Oh no, then they'll gobble you up. They will gobble you up. All of them will gobble you up. We must never, ever allow inferior minds, ignorant fools, I dare say, ever around the precincts of politics in our country seeking to lead us anymore. We must stay awake. We really have to ventilate all that we know and give people a chance to know who wants to get in on our local political action. And when the time comes, we must reject them bigly. For greatness, the greatness in every Grenadian to resonate, what we have to do? Remove ourselves from the quadrant of ignorance. Then and only then would Grenada become a great place that it is indeed. When a nation exhibits ignorance as a rule, things can't end well for them. I just got a little private message there. Eddie, you really serious, but you ain't one friend in truth? You're damn right. As we say, you're skippy, damn skippy. Because you see, people who refuse to be authentic are the ones that play games. I have no game to play. I don't like games. Pata pata. That's what I like. Straight up. Take me as I am. You don't, you that lose, not me. Go with your hypocrite friends. But I can afford to speak like this because who take offense? That's your business. That is your business. And we all have to remember, folks, at some point in time, we all need help. That is why no man is an island. Some people ask for the help, or some people are discerning enough to realize such people need help, and they extend their hands, because that's what we are supposed to be here to do to each other. What are we supposed to do? We are supposed to serve one another and not talk about it when we do, because we have to be careful. My mother always told me something, folks. The dollars don't make noise, is the change. We have people who like to say they rescue people and they rescue this one and they rescue that one. But suppose those people that they say they rescue were to talk, you'll get to realize that they owe those people, is why they volunteered to assist when those people needed assistance. You get a message? You get a message. We need to watch our mouths, folks, and do whatever we do with a willing heart, remembering, especially if we like to tout that we are now Christians, you know, whether it's husband bring you in the church or wife bring you in the church or whatever. You're Christians, know your place, because God that you serve, he frowns on those things. We have another 2 segments to go, folks. So stand in line. Take a number, stand in line. So let's take a little break.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
Hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Oh, yes, folks. Oh, yes. Sorry about that. That little water break there was not well timed at all, but what do you know? Anyhow, it's all good. It's all good. Good intention. And of course, I need to water my throat. For those of you just joining, I want to thank you. Better late than dead on time. It's lovely to have you. You can always go back and listen to what you missed or view what you missed. But this program is here to stay. I always tell people, and for years now, because I started this, nearly 40 years ago. And, I am the 8th day of the week. You see how you can't do nothing but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You can't do nothing but me until I'm dead. I come in. Consistency is what it is called. So it's lovely to have you in the house. Just continue to share as you get into the room. Just continue to share. Folks, I want to commiserate with all surviving loved ones of those who have gone to the great beyond. I attended 2 funerals this gone week. And the reason why I attended 2 is because I really could not have attended the other 2, as time did not permit. Wow. Folks, the countdown is really on. Yet for all, we have people who give all their attention for all of their short existence to gossip, trite, and puerile nonsense instead of growing and glowing while making peace with themselves and the universe around them. The 2 who died in that fatal freak accident at Montgelou Let us lift their souls up in constant prayer and offer words of comfort to their grieving relatives and friends. You know, there's just so much going on. You know, you go to funerals and you see some people very solemn, as though, let me take it light, you here, because, in other words, death is only for who dead? No, death is for all of us. We have to get used to the thought that we are not here forever. We are here for a while. So what should we do? Make it count. Make it count. You see the jab non-story, which has been attracting debate and old talk on social media, emanating from the leadership comment made by a caring prime minister himself, a devout jab player, is cause for concern indeed. I have gathered that Grenadians who are looking for topics on which to criticize the current prime minister continue to grope in the dark. And when they find anything, they exclaim, "Aha, we have it, boy." This is really sad indeed. The issue of the widespread lack of critical thinking and the fear of opening one's mouth or using one's pen and removing all doubt that they are stupid seems to have been normalized here in Grenada. I never thought I would live this long to witness this here in pure Grenada, Isle of Spice. People more so these days listen to respond and not to understand. I wonder why. Is it a form of laziness? What causes that? But you see, that's what ignorance of the real construct of genuine communication is all about. And there many of us are very, very weak. We weak for days. But communication is what? The interchange of thoughts, ideas, messages to bring about what? Mutual understanding. But what does mutual understanding mean? I must understand that you understand that I understand you. And you must understand that I understand that you understand me. But you know what is interesting? That must be taking place at the same time. So that when we leave with mutual understanding. I am one of those who believe if the student did not learn, the teacher did not teach. Because the teacher must be paying attention to it. There's no dunce child. They are differently interested children. Some of us were never interested in becoming first, second, or third. The people who came first, second, and third, most times they work for people, you know. And who are the people they're working for? The people that used to come last. You get the message? Because you see, when you are academically tuned, you may not be entrepreneurially programmed. But when you are not academically tuned, hello, you could be good for something. And then what? That something could build into a fortune. That something could build into a big empire. And you own it. And with you owning that, who do you hire? You get a message now. A lot of A students are working for C students and D students today. You see, people more so these days listen to respond and not to understand. And that is what ignorance of the real construct of genuine communication is all about. And as I said earlier, that's where many of us are weak. If all the people who listened to the calm, cool manner in which Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, the decent Mitchell in the politics of Grenada today, if you listened to the cool, calm manner in which he made his assertion regarding jab being played too early on our streets, you would be programmed to take time to respond to what you understood. I bet you the conversation would not descend into the gutter where so many seem to reside these days. But that is the effect ignorance has been having on large swaths of our current population. So much so it has descended to the point where the conclusion is Deacon plan to ban jab. Where that came from? Where is that going? And some of the people who saying that have 14 subjects. Hello, something about good to say, good to keep, because I was just about to say something as a conclusion in terms of my annoyance to our education system in this country today. A couple of days ago, we observed what would have been the 81st birthday of a true national hero, Maurice Bishop. And I can only imagine him turning in his grave to know what has become of his people 42 years after the demise of the revolution that proved our people back then to be interested in moving up, and today have reached rock bottom as a result of the period 1995 to 2022 for the most part. I have been viewing some of the extremely poor comments from the usual misinterpreters of anything said that represents structure and order, whether coming from Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell or anyone else who cares enough to so mention, and may God help them indeed. Jab being played on the streets too early. What is unfair about that comment? Where is that comment? Where in that comment, rather, gives anyone the right to conclude that the Prime Minister plans to ban jab? Are we aware of the law, the law, because there is a piece of statute governing carnival, and when it is officially to be zoned on our calendar for street revelry. Just before coming on here, somebody was talking to me, a devout jab. And you know what they were telling me? But jab must practice. But when, from my days of playing jab to all now, when we practice, where we practice, we don't practice on the road and becoming a nuisance to cars and putting oil in the road and which could cause accident. Oh no! And why do we have to practice in the old oil? We can practice in old clothes and thing, and then when we have a dress rehearsal, the last time now, close to carnival, we ready to show. Now we ready for them. Our chants are in place. Our props are in place. Hello. That's what structured societies do. That's what law-abiding citizens do. When a nation exhibits ignorance as a rule, things can't end well for them. There is a law, and if we are supposed to be, but you see, 1995 to 2008 and 2013 to 2022 created a lawless civilization, lawlessness, because you had the chief lawbreaker in charge. I can bet if jabs were to relegate themselves to pastures and playgrounds and everywhere off-road, this will never be an issue, and they can play every day if they choose to. But no, they want to be in the main road, obstructing traffic, threatening to dab people's vehicles and dabbing people's vehicles and making a nuisance of themselves, while humbugging citizens who have a right to go about their daily business in peace and without obstruction. Folks, this lawlessness has got to stop. I wish, all of the revolution. You could imagine revolution on and these people doing this stupidness. Joke you making. They might have been picked up just as they are and put in jail just as they are for as long as it takes them to understand. Don't practice that nonsense. Leave them stink and dirty just so in the jail. You see 1995 to 2008 and 2013 to 2022? Man, they were long enough periods for lawlessness to have been normalized, especially as presided over by the greatest lawbreaker, posing as top lawmaker. Remember how the police force was reorganized to facilitate the said lawbreakers, with friends and family positioned throughout for ease to do what they want? Changing that now attracts cries of victimization, forgetting that people voted for change and not exchange. You see, the independence of the police force is sacrosanct. To the lawful and orderly society we got our independence to become 51 years ago. And it is time the police become that independent body once more. I got too fed up of seeing nonsense being spouted here and there about the PM's fair comment on it being too goddamn early for Jab Jab to be played on our nation's streets all over. That as I made up my mind to unsee any new ones going forward, a comment came up. I can't remember by whom, but also nice piece of essay this morning by Richard Strawn, the managing director of Netherlands Insurance. You see, folks, there are other people who opined on the same matter, agreeing with the Prime Minister, and they received no traction at all. Yet for all, the man the majority of people gave a mandate to manage our affairs spoke out, himself a passionate Jab Jab player, and all the dunces coming out for him. Any blind man can see there is absolutely no issue to take up with the NDC administration, and so the detractors are making mountains out of molehills while dragging everything down to their lolly drain level. Folks, for the greatness in every Grenadian to resonate, we have to remove ourselves from the quadrant of ignorance. Then and only then would Grenada become the great place it is indeed. When a nation exhibits ignorance as a rule, things can't end well for them. Let's take in a little break and we'll come back with our last segment.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and or affiliates of this program.
Hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks. And of course, you know, having said or shared what I shared there just now on my opinion on the jab, I just want you to know, folks, that I am not opposed to jab at all. I am not opposed to them. They have to practice, but they must not be a nuisance and an inconvenience to the rest of the nation. That's all. Good. It's a part of our culture. A matter of fact, you see all this conversation we're having about it here? Man, that is even cementing it more into our culture, our cultural fabric of a society, because it is heritage material. And I, as a history dilettante, cannot deny that it is part of our rich cultural heritage. And there's no argument there. But we are also a country of laws. And if there's a Carnival Act, and it tells you when Carnival can be played, and when it ought to not be played, hello. But you know, if we really and truly do what we can to be as discreet as we can and not be a nuisance to others, we wouldn't be having this conversation at all. Because jabs can play in pastures, they can play, you know, wherever. But why is it you have to feel because you drink 2 rum or whatever it is, you have to run out in somebody's car and holding up the card, making a nuisance, the person can't get to go to church or they can't. Come on, man. We could do better than that. This is not Carnival. And that's where we will cross swords. But otherwise to that, it's just integral to our culture and we can't get away from it. Folks, I got a letter from somebody that I just thought I would share as a sort of wild card here. Dear Mr. Frederick, I recall years ago when you used to talk more frankly in your disgust for the NNP. I was a staunch supporter of the party and don't talk about my allegiance to the then leader. I remember you making some allegations, one of which was very offensive to me regarding kickbacks back then. You alleged that the reason why the NNP was focusing on infrastructure projects is so that they could accommodate their penchant for corruption. I was a beneficiary of a few contracts and never one day was I exposed to what you were talking about. So I thought. It was only when I had a disagreement with a particular individual on a certain request, better put demand, that I became aware of how this thing worked. Needless to say, I never got another contract and was cut loose completely to fend for myself. I was called greedy and selfish and was promised that nothing more will flow in my direction. I then understood what you may have been alleging back then. I really want to repent to you and seek your forgiveness for how I felt about you way back then, after the fallout when I was able to reconcile what you meant. It prompted me to realize that what the IMF and World Bank were saying regarding how corruption brings up the cost of projects and burdens taxpayers. Thank God I was paid according to my invoices and regarded all the sums paid to be for work done and did not feel obligated to accede to any request or demand for whatever reason. There are other things I can say in support of this, but would hold my counsel for now. I may have been dealt out thereafter, but I did not die. God continued to provide for me, and my business grew, though not at any fast rate. But honestly, by the reputation I developed for quality work. I have never stopped listening to you because I realized that you truly have a purpose in our society, and your consistency never ceases to amaze me. Thanks for all you do, and may God continue to shine his light brightly upon you and your loved ones. As I continue to follow the political vibes on the ground, I could not agree with you more that all I can hear are projections from the same NNP on the NDC, ascribing all their nasty habits of nepotism, corruption, bubble, one-sidedness, and downright dishonesty towards them. Sad, but the advent of the internet and all of social media exposes them for who they truly are. You are truly a light in a very dark place indeed. Continue to shine brightly in spite of the reactions of the guilty, as you yourself usually say. The end. Folks, we had the experience here in Grenada from time immemorial, when politicians would travel the world to various conferences and meetings and even promotions, and would return not having been impacted by anything they would have noticed outside there that we can benefit from by way of improvements to our operations in these various areas. Sometimes you have to wonder if they closed their eyes when they traveled, or what did they actually benefit from the experience. I remember years ago a certain woman, who is dead now, God rest her soul, used to say, maybe these politicians travel to eat McDonald's, Burger King, and KFC, because when they return, nothing changes. She was so correct then and still correct today. It is quite obvious that you would have traveled to represent the nation in your various fields or portfolios. So why can't you look carefully at the way things are done in certain areas of your fields or portfolios, so you can take a page and help upgrade what you preside over locally? This is what happens when the individuals are not focused and have no mind to seek to improve themselves, let alone the operations and facilities of that which he or she has charge over. I have told you before, and I will say it again and again and again till the cows come home. Our current Prime Minister, the decent Mitchell, is very correct not to compromise the standard of living and quality of life he has got accustomed to by way of the evolutionary trajectory his life has been placed on through hard work and commitment to lower those standards, to take up residence in the facilities reserved for the Prime Minister of this nation. It is a known fact that the geography of that spot has been outlived. The low level of the person who was supposed to have spent the longest there disqualified that place for anyone with standard. Indeed, make inquiries as to what the location was used for. When you get to find out, you will understand why no decent person should wish to be resident there. We hear this nonsense all over the Caribbean regarding how and where the Prime Minister should live. And the people talking always reflect their low standards. If the office is something to aspire to, it must live up to the element of inspiration and motivation. And it must do so in its entirety. You must not be willing to give up the standard at which you currently live to live how some lowlife feel you must live. Hell to the no. I recall when Portia Simpson Miller was Prime Minister of Jamaica, members of the public and the opposition criticized her for replacing the state vehicles and ensuring that cabinet meetings are properly catered to when it comes to meals and refreshments, and how the official residence was refitted and refurbished, and how the grounds were improved, crying shame on her for what they consider luxurizing. Her response was epic. She simply said there is no way any of these people could know how she currently lives in a private capacity for them to be saying that about her. Prime ministership is not a demotion. It must be a promotion. And if it can't afford a promotion, it must be a parallel move when it comes to standard of living and quality of life. She said she will not bring her personal level into disrepute. Instead, she will bring her personal level to bear on the office and will not take a step down in her appetite for good and proper food, proper place to live, which ought to be either parallel to or outmatch her current private level. And her personal vehicles must not be better than the state vehicles assigned to her. If they want to step it down, then they will have to look for a person of that stepped down level to put in the position. But as long as she is the person, her level is not detachable and will not be compromised. I recall agreeing with her then, and I still agree with that line of thinking up to now. Folks, if you want someone suited to the poor reputation Mount Royal accrued under the periods 1995 to 2008 and 2013 to 2022, you should make sure you elect such element. On June 23rd, 2022, that element became history. And how we moving forward? The state of Grenada has a right to own and must be prepared to maintain, if not the best, among the best properties for both its Governor General and Prime Minister. And that is precisely why we must not allow low-life, depraved idiots to present themselves and even be successful in being elected to such high political office here again. They will always bring their level to the office and anchor it to their extremely low gravity. You see, surely past prime ministers have visited other fellow prime ministers, whether in the region or otherwise, and ought to have been moved within reason by certain things in their environments to help polish their local dwelling, thus bringing it up to a level at least. But that is not to be if you elect a thief whose focus is solely on thieving. These things will not matter. So when these idiots come crying about spending thousands of dollars to live where they live, where the current prime minister live and where the current governor general live, hello, they must not tell you this in isolation of the level the current prime minister and the current governor general are accustomed to in their private life, which they can personally afford. Otherwise, I know for a fact that our current prime minister does not need the office of prime minister to be who he is and to live the life his acumen and successes have earned for him. A matter of course. Individuals both around him and opposed to him in politics should take note of that statement. He does not need politics to be somebody. He has shown how far humility can take him. And even as high up as he is today, his humility continues to fuel his successes. Deacon Mitchell will never be status starved and look like a virtual vagrant whenever he's out of office. His true friends are not friends of convenience and opportunity. His former profession, steeped in the level of success he enjoyed, has won for him the admiration, respect, and high regard of all levels in our society and abroad. He's a force to reckon with, and hence they keep coming for him and at him to no avail. His greatest weapon is his silence, which provokes their continued depraved malice, jealousy, and envy. Folks, the more I see these NNP goons all over the place, inventing negative nonsense and pelting them out regularly and getting decimated time and time again by the pushback, is the more I realize that they are wasting time promoting the same playbook of the puerile 2022 campaign rhetoric, which got them to the nowhere they are today, which will be their lot until they change their modus operandi. Imagine a major political party reduced to a pressure group of fake profiles and nonsense. Tell me one thing they have told you thus far that they are coming to do in their desperation to, as they say, rescue Grenada. We all know what they are best at, and they will not make the mistake to tell us that that is what they're coming to do, because we all know what the only thing they can do is. My simple advice to Grenadians, all Grenadians, whether here on island or in the diaspora, stay focused while living your life by 3 rules. 1, prioritize your health. If you don't take care of your body, where else are you going to live? I have been to 3 funeral services recently, 1 virtually, of course, and can tell you the end might be closer for each of us than we may think. So take care of your health and mind your goddamn business. The second one, protect your energy. Stop wasting time on things and people that drain you. If even it means you remain in your own space, sometimes that is the only way to protect your energy. Stay home. Do like me. Stay home. Keep away. And the third one, bet on yourself. Absolutely no one is coming to save you. Take action and make it happen. Remember the hurricane season which starts today? Is predicted to be active. So make time to mind your business. As if one were to touch down, God forbid, no one is coming to save you. If you follow these 3 rules, all you will have to do is to sit back and watch your life change for the better. Mind your business and stay in your lane. People like me who have a nasty habit of paying attention, we see things too clearly. We see patterns before they even unfold. We read between the lines when no one else does. We listen for what is not said and hear it clearly. We pick up on the shift in someone's tone, the hesitation in their words, the way their energy changes. Because of that, we can't just exist. We analyze, we overthink, and we try to make sense of things that were never meant to be understood. You see, the irony we feel alone in a crowded room is a hell of a thing, you know. We feel alone in a crowded room. No one else seems to see what we do. No one else seems to see what we see. Self-awareness isn't a burden. It turns out to be a superpower. It teaches us who to trust, what to avoid, and when to walk away. The world may not always understand us, but that doesn't mean we are wrong. We need to keep seeing clearly, keep knowing ourselves, just as long as we do not allow the weight of our awareness to keep us from living. You see, folks, for the greatness in every Grenadian to resonate, we have to remove ourselves from the quadrant of ignorance. Then and only then would Grenada become the great place it is indeed. So, when a nation exhibits ignorance as a rule, things can't end well for them. I'm just praying and trusting that our God would make that turnaround for us here in Grenada. And our constructive youth will actually take themselves in hand and do what they must. Remembering courage is important. Discipline is important. Hey, sacrifice is important. And what is sacrifice? Being willing to give up what you have for something you deeply believe to be better. That is what sacrifice is. And you may not get the reward you're looking for right away, but trust me, folks, the reward will come. I could speak from experience on that. Consistency and perseverance is what you need to garnish discipline, courage, and focus with. And the promised land must be yours. But you cannot do so if you keep hiding from knowledge. You must not hide from knowledge. It is too goddamn important. Never underestimate the amount of damage a little reading can do to your ignorance. Folks, I am in, I'm out, I'm gone. Thanks for joining. Continue to share. See you next week at the same time, same place for more extraordinary programming. Until then, stay safe, stay well, remain vigilant, and stay lifted. But remember to stay focused too. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Just type in my name, Edward or Eddie Frederick. No fake names. Subscribe, like, and share. And be prepared to receive your mental multivitamins as straight up as I deliver them. Take great care of your wonderful selves. Stay safe and do well this week. Remember, whatever you do it for Grenada.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This has been Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cool Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Need a personal integrity booster shot? Your prescription is right here. Tune in with Eddie Frederick every week. Information is power.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.